avoid that one. And right now, WE, they've got a chance. They've given themselves a chance by beating EDG. They've just got to take that next step here.
Yep. And it all starts with how well you can at least get a decent draft going for you. Weibo already recognizing how stellar Monki was on the Skarner in that second half. Not going to give him a chance to relive that glory again. WE, their priority will be set on the Jace, as this is the first time in a while that we've seen this champion available to pick.
Yeah, it has been one of those top bans that we've seen a lot recently. Expect that it's going to be for Cube, potentially right here into the Cassante, although of course you can move it around. Karis could take that one up. It's got a pretty good matchup into the Cassante, can potentially look for kills. And then the Varus, also a champion we've been seeing banned out a lot recently. Very strong at the moment in the meta as well. I'm not talking about it. We'll see what they lock. We will see.
They're teasing us, Bloxer. They know that. Yes! Oh! The dog has been let out of the pound. WE, they're about to make a throwdown statement. This is for a chance to be the masters of their own fate. And Monki, after earning a player of the game on a tank champion, the coach says, I'm giving you the carry reign. I want to see you bring that inner dog out of you.
Oh my lord. Alright, we are going to see it now. It's been hovered a lot by a lot of different people and actually picked a couple different times. Neferi Jungle, I mean, it's strong. It is strong, but it's so specific in the way that you have to play it out, right? You cannot just go flying in. Perfect example. The Vi can just go jumping in and just completely wreck a team fight that way, can one-tap somebody and actually be pretty survivable. The Neferi, very squishy, especially in the way it's being built at the moment, but right here, as Light, I'm very worried about my life, because you're going to be that main target right now. The Neferi could just go into the backline, get an instant kill, but often it's a one-for-one. It's kind of like the Rengar in that way, where you're getting one kill, great, but then you immediately die. Let's see, though, because if I'm going to trust anybody with it at the moment, Monki has been having a baller day.
Yeah, and for WE, they recognized that Weibo were trying to split apart what could have been the makings of the Poke and Siege composition, that Top Esports actually showed a fair bit of mastery in synchronizing with that Neferi, because you get the Poke down, you chunk the health bars, and as soon as they are in lethal range, then you set the dogs on them, literally. Then you let that Neferi run rampant, and with the way that the Hound's Pursuit gives you that additional reset after getting the first kill, makes her an even more durable target, since you're getting that bonus shield on top of the second reset. So it's going to come down to how well WE can execute. We gave them criticisms before, Bloxer, that team fighting is not their biggest strength, but they were able to persevere. They were able to have that anime arc development right before our very eyes. They got better and better until the final bits and ends of that EDG game. We'll see if they can make it happen today.
I mean, right now, they've got themselves a very heavy poke composition. You can understand why we're going to see that Karma on the ban table. You don't want to be giving over another avenue of poke right now. The sort of massive poke bot lane that we got to see. We're also going to see Xiaohu pick up onto this Rise right now. It didn't particularly do too much when we saw it in the previous game. We'll have to see if he's going to be able to pilot this one out a little bit better. WE right now, they're very much in need of some tanks to be able to buy space for these carries. As much as the composition can poke very well, they're going to struggle at the moment to actually step up into any objective, especially if they're later to it. The Galio, the Rel, that's a great combo to actually be able to make that work. Let's see if Vampire's able to get some of these big magnet storms off as well. And that could make these team fights pretty easy for WE if they're in a good spot in the game. Weibo, gonna need a final pickup right here. The Alistar's actually been banned out a lot recently. Hang is going to be able to pick this one up. Works very well alongside the Varus. And just, again, another nice tank at the front of this composition. I worry a little bit, actually, for Weibo that they might run out of damage. If they're not ahead in this situation, I mean, they've got okay amounts of poke, but really, any of these champions falling behind isn't going to be able to do the same that WE can.
The biggest indicator, or the biggest thing for Weibo, is going to be how well they can set up a fortress around their two primary damage dealers in the Varus and the Rise. The fact that you're still able to preserve an Alistar available in anticipation of WE trying to get the best tank engage support that they can get with this Rel means that at least you have ways to punt out threats. And if the Rel can't get in there to set up the Galio, then it's less likely that the Nefiri wants to dive in as well, because the only way we see a world where Nefiri is solo diving to then be aided by the Galio's hero entrance is if Monki is like massively ahead. And I don't think Weibo are going to give that kind of advantage that willingly in the early game.
I would be incredibly surprised if Weibo do end up losing this game, if they end up getting that far behind, but we have seen crazier things. WE, they've come off of a win on this one. They're feeling good about themselves. There's a chance. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. At the same time, Weibo, they've sat for a decent little bit of time. You know, they haven't had to play for a bit. And they are going to be well prepared right here for WE. All to play for right now. Whether or not we have a tiebreaker, whether or not Weibo are going to put themselves in a position to fight for that top seed, all comes down to this.
Our fourth Nefiri jungle game of the second split of the LPL. Man, it is... We're like... What? We're not even in April yet. We're approaching April. We are... I'm thinking, I can't do math. 9 months away from Christmas? I'm getting Christmas early all over. Like, this is making my night so wonderful. And so even if WE are not able to prevail over Weibo and we get the tiebreaker, I'm happy to see another Nefiri jungle game. Like the way that the last time we casted together Bloxer, and you had mentioned that you hope for the day that you get to cast a Warwick game.
Yes,
this is how I feel about Nefiri, bro.
Us and dog champions, I guess. And yeah, I am actually quite excited to see this one. As much as I was head in hands directly after the Nefiri was picked up, it's just because it's so risky. It is such a risk right here for WE, but you've got to play it like this. Weibo Gaming, if you play them in the straight-up 5v5 teamfight kind of composition, you're going to lose. Weibo are very good at that, and WE are very bad at that. So it was never going to work. They had to do something to change it up, and Maya's very much going to be focusing on what this Nefiri can do. What can Monki, the main carry for WE, the bright spark in what has otherwise been a tricky early split for them, what can he do?
Yeah. Finally being able to show up big in the previous Skarner game. When we think about the other pop-off game that he had, was that Viego against anyone's legend. One of the few teams to actually take a game off of AL in that first split. See how this game pans out, as bot lane has been not too exciting, but pretty advantageous for Vampire and Taeyoon, as they are getting the pressure off and they'll hit level 2 first. Crash down into the stun, get some decent poke damage. Monki, we're not diving, are we? Are we
he wants
diving?
To steal stuff. I think he's just here to try to nick away at least this Grump. Potentially going to be able to try steal away this blue as well. That would be huge. That would be great to be able to grab this early on, because Tian is heading down towards this side. Obviously, the clear not particularly fast for Nefiri onto these solo camps. Does a lot better against the chickens and the krugs. Camps like that is at least going to see that the blue buff is here. Now going to be spotted out onto a ward, so not going to be able to get a gank onto this mid lane right now.
We'll buy some pressure for Karis. Steps up, tries to at least push Xiaohu away. Eats some damage on the health bar in return, but Monki at least able to deny what could have been a level 4. I mean, he's going to get a decent amount of damage on the Xiaohu. Forced to flash. The phase rush top. Tries to go in. I mean, Xiaohu is playing with fire, but just knows that the cooldowns of Nefiri early on are a lot longer than they are later on to the game when he builds up the ability haste. Oh,
he
no,
missed!
Tian!
What?
Oh! The stun missed, and Tian has an opportunity to flash Vault Breaker away back to safety. That could have been disaster for Weibo.
Vampire missed a lot of hooks in the previous game that we got to see between WE and EDG. And missing that one right there, I mean, Tian was walking a little bit funny, but he had no clue that there was a rel in that bush, so... I mean, that's unfortunate. Still, you get the flash out. Don't know that they would have potentially been able to finish off that kill anyway. But still, Tian has been pushed around a lot in this early game. Hasn't been able to just have the nice, easy early game you want on a Vi to set yourself up well for going on to those ganks. You're going to be okay. Vi is still a very strong ganking champion, especially once you get that level 6. But it's just getting him a little bit off kilter, buying more space for Monki to do what he needs to on this Nefiri.
Yeah, I mean, credit over to Tian, the fact that he's been able to just farm a majority of his camps. Obviously, the Gromp was yoinked away, but I think he got Did he get both crabs? No, it looks like he just got the top crab. So
Just
he's
the top, yeah.
not necessarily behind the curve, because Monki spent a lot of time looking for the invade and pushing Xiaohu off the wave, and then trying to look for the cheese play on the Tian, getting a summoner spell. Now Monki is picking up a lot of the level 1 camps on his top side. Maybe he'll get a chance to now try to accentuate this lead, picking up the respawn camps on the bottom quadrant, but he still wants to get a time to base and start getting those items, because it really is the ability haste from the Eclipse, the Shojin, the Black Cleaver, that once you start purchasing these things for Nefiri, that's when she really becomes a menace.
Oh yeah, and that's the point at which you are just trying to speed towards right here. You can't be falling behind on this champion. As much as we talk about how Weibo's composition, falling behind would be devastating, same kind of thing right here for WE. A little bit of aggression right here. Vampire actually not going to manage to jump away with the crash down too much. Going to go on to this one, and actually Monki is once again in the area, so is Tian. I don't think either of them are particularly going to find too much success in ganks here at the moment, as we've got a Chemtech Drake up and available, and the Grub's going to be spawning in just 30 seconds time. In terms of who I think is going to be able to do more with the Grubs, definitely seems like WE have got that little bit more range, bit more poke that could make sieging towers with a lot of Grubs very advantageous for them. But at the moment, everybody hanging around towards the bottom side instead.
Yeah. Looks like Vampire's now taking this opportunity to leave Taeyoon all by his lonesome, roaming towards at least mid-wave to guarantee push for Karis. I thought that they would be immediately leveraging this advantage into topside for Grubs, but they actually want to try and contest Weibo on this dragon here. Monki potentially looking for it. It's knocked up, but good use of the call of the pack. Avoids the pulverize from Hong, but doesn't get exposed and caught out for what could have been a wombo from Tian and Hong working together. And the pressure alone is actually enough to force them off the pit. And WE, I questioned it. I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with a game like that. They're going to get the first dragon of the game.
Just steps up right here. Tian taking some wolves, not going to be able to get involved in this one for a couple more seconds still. A bit more space being bought. Vampire jumps in.
I mean, Weibo are actually delaying the dragon, but they want to turn onto it. Realm War coming in from Xiaohu to rejoin the fight. Karis steps up, buys space, but the dragon resets, and now Tian might be looking for a vault breaker. Doesn't quite connect. Good stun by Vampire. Stuns Tian, and he goes way too deep! Oh, Weibo thought they could follow up, but the Vi is just a little too far forward, and First Blood goes over to WE.
You can see the damage right here that the early Nefiri can do. Pickaxe and longsword in infantry, surprising amount, and you're not tanky at this point in the game as a Vi. Tian goes in way too fast. Still, WE, they could very easily have finished up the Drake instead. Now they're going to reset onto this one. Potentially that's a good thing for them. They do have a decently strong early skirmish with this Nefiri, and if you want to keep leveraging that, it's going to be a possibility right now. With both the Grubs and the Drake spawned, it's now going to be dealer's choice for these junglers for where they want to head. It'd be interesting to see. I think they're all going to end up in the same place once again, potentially. We might end up with another skirmish.
Just to illustrate how active Vampire has been on the map, whether for good or for bad, he is 2 levels down against Hong's Alistar at this moment, just because he's been missing so much lane experience, but he's been trying to move proactively, playing around Monki's Nefiri, trying to give him the keys to the entire rift, and so far, that advantage is working in the hands of what WE want to accomplish.
Absolutely is. Monki going to be able to pick up 2 of these Grubs right now. Breathe stepping up does at least stop the third from going down, but now Breathe going to take a decent chunk of damage off of Cube. Not going to be killed, Kasante way too tanky for that, but at least his top laner arriving means that it is going to be all 3 of these initial Grubs going over to WE. You can see Weibo, they've headed down towards the bottom side of the map, but are not initially starting up onto this Drake. Instead, potentially just looking to steal away a couple of camps, or maybe try to catch out onto this bottom line.
Karis is not loving life at the moment, forced off of a minion wave that he will miss all the experience and gold from. Gonna be down a level now to Xiaohu. Weibo at least trying to leverage an advantage somewhere on the map, since Taeyoon has shifted back over to the mid lane so that he's not falling victim to the pressure that Weibo is trying to use, counteracting all the objective focus that WE has. Xiaohu should be fine. Still has phase rush to pop. There's a non-spot, and actually it was just from Karis, but still fine.
Going to be able to survive this one, but the Drake take hasn't come through yet, and so now Monki arrives around this Drake. We saw previously that Tian just wasn't able to step up, was forced off of that one very easily. once again, doesn't feel comfortable to actually get himself involved in this one. The thing we've got to remember, right? WE's early games haven't been the big problem. The big problem's been team fights, and we saw it even in the matchup they win versus EDG. It took some miracle predictions on the Impale from Monki to actually be able to win out that game. Otherwise, they were beginning to lose out on that one. There were some good EDG fights that had come through, and so as much as this early game's looking okay, this is not the point that's the problem.
Yeah. Weibo being able to muscle their way over control on the bottom side river will net them the first dragon of the game, albeit it being a late one and just under 10 minutes into the game, so the dragon stacking is not going to be the most accelerated.
No.
But WE, I think they're content with that, just trying to stall the game as long as possible so that you can get multiple spikes for your main carries on this squad, as you called out. I'm still a little nervous that Vampire is yet to hit level 6 and Hong is about to hit level 7, but yeah, thankfully for WE, Weibo haven't really gotten a chance to leverage that advantage.
No, so far it really hasn't been about that, but obviously missing out on the Magnum Storm is going to be a huge engage tool that you just don't have available to you. If you're going to get caught out here, at least on vision, it's just going to be able to steal away these Krugs though, and continues to keep himself pretty much dead even right now with Tian, despite the fact that Tian has a little bit more CS. Obviously Monki's been involved in a few more of these plays. Got a little while until the next grubs spawn, so everybody just sitting around trying to farm up. I think you're right to worry a bit here about Vampire. I'm also a little bit worried about Karis. Both of these have kind of been pushed to the side to get as much farm and as much pressure for either Monki or onto Taeyoon. Those two have very much been the recipient of as much pressure as possible for WE, and it means that they are going to be a little bit behind the curve once we get involved in these actual fights.
Good shift from Taeyoon. Away from Hong's pulverized combo there. Got 50 seconds until grub spawn here. Bloxer and it's going through. Want to kind of do a checklist for everyone. Multiple summoner spells are available. Karis is actually down a flash.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but he just used it.
Oh, just up. That was it. It was just about to come back.
God, sometimes that's throws me out a little tricky. Anyway, all summoner spells back up. So WE should feel for the most part confident, especially now the Vampire level 6 has Magistorm back.
There we go. There we go. They've also got the item advantage for themselves at the moment on some of these key carries. And look, right here, Monki has got that Eclipse completed, so a little bit of extra survivability, a ton of extra damage as well. Going to be in a very strong spot right now. You're obviously kind of waiting for the third item for this Neferi to really pop off, really come online in a big way, be able to just one-tap people. Still, should be pretty strong at the moment. I have to see, though, if he's actually going to be able to deal that damage onto key carries, or if he's going to be pushed around in these team fights.
Yeah, big to note as, I guess Light was fishing for a Chain of Corruptions, goes wide. Light not on that first item quite yet, so even though he's trying to layer down the poke with these piercing arrows, is not going to do as much as it might be able to. Xiaohu throws down the Rune Prison onto Karis, forces him to keep at bay. And they're trying to lead the engage. Hong goes in with the Pulverize. Karis joins the fight with the Hero's Entrance. Multiple grubs being fought over for. They turn right on to Breathe, but he uses the all-out to bring Karis on closer. Forces the flash out. Tian goes in, tries to gang up on the Galio, and Monki's in trouble on the Neferi, and Breathe tries to force the dogs away. Realm Warp from Xiaohu tries to close the distance against Cuba and the rest of the WE squad, but they're able to survive, only dropping Karis in the process.
It's only a single death. It is going to be all three of the grubs, though, picked up for Weibo. 3 apiece going to be the end score on those. And when we have a look back at this replay, it'll be really interesting to see where all of the damage went, because you can see lots of tools used out of both of these teams. Nobody really able to actually deal the damage that needed. As you highlighted, Light misses the Chains of Corruption before the team fight even starts, and it just doesn't quite work out for them. Still, they're able to pick up this initial kill. And this is the problem, right, with WE. They're team fighting in just such a poor position. They've got themselves completely outflanked. Breathe gets to involve himself in this team fight right at the very beginning, and it leaves Karis in a terrible position. Ends up being the single member that falls in this fight. And despite the fact they're actually not able to get the rest of these kills, turn this one around into something even better right here for Weibo. Oh.
I didn't even see that.
No, I clearly looked somewhere else. Either way, good team fight for Weibo.
Overall, good team fight for Weibo. It was definitely better than WE. Yeah, it definitely looked like WE were. Oh no, Cube. I mean, he's got a flash, but Tian has an ultimate. I don't think you're escaping this one at all. He flashes in the bush, tries to make some distance here, but Rune Prison, Wall Breaker, there's the cease and desist, and yeah, I mean, unfortunate for Cube. That is out of bounds for you on the top lane, buddy.
Yeah, way too pushed up. Potentially thought the Tian was going to be down towards the bottom side of the map since there is a Drake spawning. Said really nice play right there out of the Weibo jungler. Able to get themselves another quick kill for the team. Despite there's only been 3 in the first 15 minutes of this game, Weibo still feel like they're in a good spot right now, up by 1,000 gold. Yeah, they've just felt like they're the stronger team overall. Monki, once again, going to get on top of this dragon. Should be able to pick this one up nice and easily without Tian in the area. And that is something, at least. WE, they're not massively behind. It's just, with the way this team struggles in the team fight, it feels like they need massive advantages to be able to feel like they're in a good spot in a game.
Yeah, or they need to land some massive CC miracle engages, which is kind of how their victory over EDG came to fruition, just being able to find key targets with very, very impactful ultimates. Monki doesn't have necessarily that kind of power. No Impale. He's less so on the CC chain and more on the I need to 100 to 0 this guy chain.
Absolutely, he needs to just be able to get that full all-in through, and if they're able to, you know, there is going to be a chance. Right now, there is going to be a Herald up and available. Both the teams taking a bit of a reset right now, getting their way towards the second items of the game. Nothing too interesting happening in the build paths at this point. And so where can you find those engages right here for WE? Because as much as this composition can team fight between Karis and Vampire's ultimates, it's not impossible. I think getting a pick initially between Cube and Monki would be a great way to play this one out. You also need to watch what Taeyoon's actually able to do in terms of keeping the farm going and then weaving his way through these fights.
The Monki, as you called it, was starting to sniff to see if Xiaohu would overstep his welcome here. He had used the flash to, unfortunately, no success in trying to lock down a triad of WE members on that post-grub fight. Rift Herald has spawned. Majority of WE are trying to assemble their forces here to maintain position, but Breathe is pressuring on the bottom side turret. He can ace and just look for a teleport. Weibo are up in gold. They should feel advantageous in taking a fight here.
There's a huge flank ward for him if he wants it. Instead, just going to teleport in straight up, try front to back it.
Okay, Hong leads the charge. Monki had already secured the Herald, but down goes Vampire. Not a chance to really get a counter-engage off, and now Karis might just give his life to die, using the phase rush to kind and get an away, but Weibo are able to lock him down, and here comes the Realm Warp. Oh, jump scare, 4 members surprising WE on their route of escape, and they're going to put the dog down. Cube will fall next, and only a cow is the price that Weibo have to pay to destroy WE completely. As Taeyoon, unfortunate brother, not able to escape this time, as Breathe is going to keep him in range for Xiaohu to clean up another kill.
Yeah, unfortunate right here. The fight just goes wrong immediately, and it keeps on happening. WE keep putting themselves into terrible positions. When we jump into the replay, we can have a look at the fact that they are pincering themselves in. They are just constantly getting squished into these team fights, not able to find those initial plays. And it's time and time again I've seen where Karis is going in just to try to save somebody, pretty much immediately ends up dying himself, just isn't actually able to do it. You see it right here, you end up with a teleport down in the bottom side, and then you've got the Vi flanking from the top side of the map. They just cannot sit and hit onto anybody. Karis goes in and then just gets chunked out pretty much immediately. W can't team fight. There's nothing more that we can really say about it. Even when they won versus EBG, it didn't feel like it was the big team fights, more than just Monki finding those massive ultis. Now, they put him on a good champion to be able to try carry in this one. Not quite the Skarner, but still, the Neferi has been able to do that. Not in this game. Not so far, at least.
It's so hard to reliably get these fights going in the position that Neferi wants them when your front line is dying before WE has a chance to, like, actually fight on proper terms. That's the reality. And a lot of the times WE are playing retreat mode after an objective instead of being able to force something that they want to actually fight.
Exactly. They're not able to find ways to start team fights off well enough to then be able to play them out in the way that their composition demands. Monki actually playing very aggressive right here. He's got plenty to dodge away with, but Tian's about to jump over the wall. Does he get to the blast cone? Yes. Vi's still gonna follow him. Hang on. What is this?
Hero's entrance. Karis should buy some time, but the rest of Weibo Gamer are going to follow their captain fearlessly into the pit. They do
Xiaohu.
away Karis. Monki's able to get over the wall. Does he get to live for his sins? Tian is still trying to close the distance against him, but another frontline member will fall. This is so...
Yikes. This is exactly the kind of game I was expecting right here, where despite the fact that Weibo are getting aggressive, they don't even need to necessarily, because WE just keep running forwards in the wildest situations. Cube is at least getting some damage onto this bottom lane tier 1 tower. That will be a nice injection of gold for everybody. It's something, but still, was it worth it? Let's have a play of was it worth it. You get chickens. Your opponents get Atakan 4 kills.
They got a tier 1 on the bottom side. You know?
Yeah, true, and a tier 1. So maybe it's worth it. You do the math at home, everybody. We'll see. Still,
I just have to say that Karis and Vampire, they might just be looking at Monki after this play and going, I hope the chicken nuggets really help you get to your second item that much faster, bro. I really hope it was worth it.
Oh, mid lane, actually. We're having a big fight that we can see on the screen. After Atakan, it doesn't matter. They're just getting all of those teleports back through. And the Chains of Corruption, they do go wide during this fight, so I thought, hey, maybe there's a chance. But Xiaohu ends up just in the back line, able to do good damage right here. And that isn't even worse blast cone, potentially, than the previous one that we'd seen.
How are we not know? Dude, these are some beautiful tragedies that are happening on the second replay view.
Yeah.
It's almost like watching how can I put this politely? It's like watching one of those films that is just like so bad that it's amazing.
It is good.
And then on the second time viewing, you're like, oh my gosh, we missed a golden nugget, a pure cinema moment. And thank you, man.
Oh man, the cinema of this is real. This is hilarious to watch, although I don't think anybody ever wants their League of Legends described as hilarious. Taeyoon just dies there, actually.
Yep.
And they're going to be able to just keep
Flash.
pushing this one forwards. Yeah, Weibo, they are in complete control of this game. Going to be able to crack open the base right here, 22 minutes into the game. I think they're going to be able to grab this inhibitor as well. WE, they're just not in a strong position at all right now. Surely they're thinking about the tiebreaker coming up.
The Realm Warp over. I mean, this is peak Rise side lane gameplay when you're able to kill an entire line of structures in one lane, immediately Realm Warp the minion wave over to the next lane to just make the base destruction that much faster. Weibo, I mean, they've been known for this playstyle for years, ever since Xiaohu came onto this roster. And he has not missed a beat yet since. And, you know, we did play up a lot of the what-if scenario of WE being able to pull one over Weibo, but I don't think it's happening.
No, I will agree with you on that one, as this fight just goes wrong pretty much immediately. Monki gets insta-jumped by Tian. On the backside of it, as we said, Hung just jumps in, make sure that the Ezreal are not going to be able to do anything. Taeyoon, back to base they go, and not a lot of base left, really. They are down by so much gold at this point in the game. 7,000, nearly 8,000 going to be the gold lead right here for Weibo. They're up by a Drake. They're in a very strong spot overall, but we are still waiting a little bit until the Baron. That's the one good thing about losing this early on. There's no Baron for your opponents to go and get. A little bit more time for WE to try and get their way towards those third items. You know, the copium is strong, but it is still potentially there. But even without the Baron at the moment, Weibo, they're going to be able to push forwards. They're going to be able to grab themselves another tower hill. WE, they're just collapsing.
Yeah. This has been very clinical from Weibo Gaming, and definitely something you are relieved to see as a Weibo Gaming fan, to make sure that they're not even dropping a beat against one of the more less stronger opponents.
One of the Nirvana teams.
Yeah. One of the teams that might be in their Nirvana group at the end of the day as all of this plays out. Our observers, though, pointing out that they're...
Sorry, go on, go on.
Just pointing out a flank ward just in case WE want to be frisky.
I was gonna say, I think the LPL's invented a new insult. Yeah, this team's real Nirvana. Like, oh, I'm gonna be using that even not in the LPL. As Weibo, they're gonna start themselves up the Baron right here. WE are nowhere to be found. They can potentially try for a fight after this one, but right now, Breathe just gonna be playing bodyguard.
It's all about Karis and Vampire finding the engage, but the Baron has already evaporated. Or WE get a chance to walk in the river and contest, and now WE have to be careful. Taeyoon is a little far forward, does have flash and cleanse, so he's able to shift away from engage range out of Weibo's hands. You do not want to disrespect an opponent that is up 9,000 gold. If they get in range of you, they're going to be smacking you with a very thick wallet, and that is not a fun place to be.
No, the gold is heavy right now. Breathe actually getting jumped right now. Obviously, K'Sante very tanky, going to be able to rejoin his team. And Vampire doesn't actually make it over the wall with that crash down either. Here's the fight.
Oh, Hong finds the flank, and Taeyoon is blown up. That's one of the carries gone, and the rest of WE are retreating. Monki is just going to pop the recall and just try to defend from the remnants of whatever is left of his base. But Weibo Gaming are going to remind WE, we are not EDG, y'all. We are one of the best teams in this group, and we're trying to make a statement of being one of the best teams in the LPL going into this split. Monki will at least pop one onto Xiaohu before getting completely dominated by Tian, and GG, well played. Tiebreakers galore, baby. We are approaching... maybe not the promised land, but, you know, definitely the tiebreaker scenario that was very much alluded to and could be made possible, as Weibo Gaming going to be tied up with BLG, 5-1 apiece. WE 1-4 or 1-5, just like EDG as well. So, let's see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, this group has felt very top-heavy. Very, very top-heavy. The top two teams taking games off of each other, the bottom two teams taking games off of each other. A lot more split than some of the other groups have been. The rest of the days, I think, are going to be a little bit closer between top teams and bottom teams, more chance for upsets. In this game, the only upset we've really seen was WE picking up that win up against EDG. That is very important going forwards, right? We were learning about the tiebreaker scenarios. Top of the standings doesn't actually play a tiebreaker, it's just on game time. If it's on game time versus each other, then that would put BLG as the top seed going into Group Ascend, and Weibo as the second seed. If it's overall game time, I'm not actually sure how that one shakes out. We'll have to find that one out for you. But the bottom of the table is still going to be a tiebreaker that actually gets played, because this one is critical for going forward.
Yep. Still unaware if we're going to be seeing the tiebreaker immediately after this game, or if the tiebreaker will be played somewhere else, or if they're going to have... yeah, we're along for the ride here, y'all. So, but until then, I think this is a chance for us to zoom out and just kind of look at the overall expectations of, first of all, our top two teams in BLG and Weibo escaping this group and immediately going into Group Ascend. How are we feeling about these two teams compared to where they ended up in the first split, Bloxer?
So, BLG is really interesting, right? In that they've got such high expectations of themselves as an organization and of these players. They're going to be very disappointed with the way that last split shook out. The fact that they didn't end up winning. The fact that they didn't go on to that first down tournament. Really gonna have annoyed them. They're gonna be upset as well that they didn't come out of their group as the top seed. This second time around, at least they're gonna come out as the top seed going into Group Ascend. But again, I think they're gonna be frustrated that they dropped that game up against Weibo. They are sometimes their own worst enemies because the highs of this team are so high. But the lows, They know how to throw it versus some of the top teams sometimes. For Weibo, I'd feel much happier, right? The fact you're able to pick up a win against everybody and take one off of BLG, that feels like a great showing for them in this second split.
Yeah, and especially the way their group stage or their single round robin best of 5 gameplay was demonstrated in the first split. I think there is a lot of errors that were shown, especially in that JDG series, that pretty much prevented them from getting what we all imagined was going to be the first seed of that group, and putting them in the lower bracket, and then, of course, losing to BLG and having their playoffs run cut very, very short, which was not matching the expectations of what that squad promised to be. But we have to remind ourselves that, you know, Tian and Hung are two of the new players coming into this roster. Not necessarily new in terms of career, but Weibo, the core before was Light, Xiaohu, and Breathe before 2025. Tian being the new jungler coming over from, I think, Top Esports last year. Obviously, still a lot of questions about this guy beforehand. Former world champion in 2019, never really seeing him get a chance to live up to that peak ever since then. It's been a constant battle where, you know, over the years, seems like he scales up and then falls short just before, you know, the critical moment of where he could reclaim glory for the LPL. But, you know, this is another year of potential where Tian can, you know, match some of the best junglers in the LPL who are all, and if I'm going to be honest, Bloxer, I think there's quite a few number of junglers in the LPL that are writing similar stories right now.
Absolutely. The jungle pool at the moment is stacked, and at least in this group so far, Tian's looked great. Really have enjoyed the way that he was able to play out today. It's going to be fascinating to see what he can do going on. And then we have to look at the bottom side of this group, right? Because those two are off into Group Ascend, whatever order they get sent through. Congratulations to them. These bottom tier teams, oh boy, it's been a rough one so far. The fact that you're actually able to pick up wins against each other is interesting. The rematch, though, I think that's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, because once again, when we look at just overall strengths, you know, we had EDG favored, especially since that they had won the previous matchup before. But the fact that WE were able to kind of answer for a lot of the criticisms that we had leveraged against them before their win against EDG, I mean, it kind of showed up against Weibo. Yeah. But to be fair, Weibo is effectively a stronger team than EDG. And EDG seemed to buckle under the pressure from BLG in their last game. So who knows? You know, maybe WE can pray and hope that EDG are so mentally distraught after the 50-minute loss that it just carries over.
And hey, 3 games in a row would be tricky for them here, especially with the sort of loss that they were able to take. And I mean, it's just been such a rough day for both of these teams. We showed it earlier on in the show, the mirror universe, where EDG have won all of the games where they've had themselves good advantages in. Well, that's continued today. So many matchups where it's felt like, oh, they totally should have won that one. And then you actually looking at the scoreline, if you've jumped out halfway through, you're like, how did they end up losing this one? Either way, we'll have a look at the player of the game right now. It is going to be
Xiaohu. I mean, listen, I think Weibo was pretty dominant. If we cast the flash fail aside, Xiaohu did have a stellar game on the rise. Just the flanks that he was picking. I mean, WE were never really giving themselves the benefit of proper battle lines. Yeah. But Xiaohu wasn't wasting an opportunity to punish that.
No, and that realm warp right here is what seals the deal for them in the end. There were a lot of very good plays. It was definitely a better Rise performance than we saw in the previous game. I thought that everybody, though, on Weibo was having a pretty good one. It didn't ever feel like they were getting pushed around any specific situation. I mean, Tian maybe went in a little bit too aggressive during the very first play that we saw, but after that, there were no real issues there. It was a great game from everybody on Weibo. They've got to be very proud of themselves for being able to get out of this group 5-1. Very impressive.
Yeah. Well, congrats to Xiaohu. That marks 3 MVPs for the day for the main man in the mid lane for Weibo Gaming. I mean, just Spring Tiger living up to the name and just really delivering. Now, some information going forward. We're going to be taking a break. When we come back, we will be finding out from our clean feed of whether or not WE and EDG are playing their game out immediately. But if they are not playing out their game, or we do not get any indication within a relatively short time span that they're actually playing out their game, we'll come back, we'll address it, and then we'll be closing out the stream regardless. So just stay tuned, y'all. Feel free to get some snacks. It is now 8 a.m. over here in the Mountain Time Zone where I'm at. 7 a.m. for Pacific and 10 a.m. for Eastern Coasters. And then over in the UK, Bloxer, what time is it, my friend?
It's 2 p.m.
So you know what? Get some afternoon tea. This is a perfect time to just wind down with